it about these blind dudes, man? Clarence Carter, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder. I guess you don't need Braille to see where you're going in that regard. I mean, hey, man. Nobody ever said, sex was limited to the sighted. What's going on, everybody? You're right on time for another ride on the Groove Line with your host, Chris Stevens. And this is day number 15 of the 25 days of Christmas. And we are talking samples here today. So it's always funny to note that the musical changes of 20 years can be really fun to, chart. So there was a song that was put out in the fall of 1968 that ended up becoming the base for one of the biggest rap records of the 80s almost 20 years later. And of course, we are talking about Clarence Carter's Backdoor Santa, and Christmas Time in Hollis by Run DMC. So if you are a music head, you already know. Those horns, that comes from Clarence Carter's Backdoor Santa. That was on the 1968 Atlantic Records Soul Christmas collaboration. This was some of the stuff that had been left over from the Stax Atlantic split of 1968. Now, we talked about this on the channel many times before, but if you're not familiar, Atlantic Records was Stax's parent company until Stax decided to go somewhere else, and Atlantic Records said, okay, so we're going to take this back catalog. And that back catalog included, some of the soul Christmas stuff. I mean, Carla Thomas had G Wizard's Christmas on there. There were a couple of Otis Redding leftovers, like White Christmas and such with Booker T and the MGs. And Backdoor Santa by Clarence Carter is a song about a man who is sneaking in the back door to, have some fun with somebody's woman. And he talks about how he gives the kids pennies to be, so me and her can be alone and all of that. Yeah, for 1968, that's a pretty risky record because they weren't talking about, doing the do in pop music with that level of brass, shall we say. So yeah, Backdoor Santa. I mean, Clarence Carter was a raunchy individual anyway. So if you haven't listened to anything by Clarence Carter, Clarence Carter was the same dude that gave us, I've been stroking to the east, I've been stroking to the west, I'll stroke it to the woman that I love best. I'll be stroking. That's what I've been doing, man. And this man was blind too. What is it about these blind dudes, man? Clarence Carter, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder. I guess you don't need Braille to see where you're going in that regard. I mean, hey, man. Nobody ever said, sex was limited to the sighted. But anyway, 1987. Let's fast forward to 1987. 1987. Run DMC is already experiencing some of the biggest highs of their career. Of course, we'll Walk This Way with Aerosmith. The entire Raising Hell album, gave them pop culture status. So what happens? Jam Master Jay gets a hold of Backdoor Santa and uses those horns for that beat. Runs first verse about, it was December 24th for Hollis Ave after dark. I saw the man chilling with his dog at the park. And, he didn't realize it was reindeer. He didn't realize it was Santa Claus until it was too late. And then, and it dropped his wallet, and Run could have said, you know what? I'm going to go buy me that new Cadillac. That new Cadillac at the time was a downsized Cadillac, but it was still a Cadillac. But he said, nah, I never steal from Santa, so that ain't right. So I was going back home to mail him back to him that night. And then, he goes home, and it's a sack of money under the tree for him anyway. So I guess, good deeds don't go punished or whatever. Go unpunished or what have you. And then, of course, DMC's second verse is talking about, how it's Christmas time in Hollis, Queens. Mom's cooking chicken and collard greens, rice and stuff and macaroni and cheese. And Santa put gifts under Christmas trees. Like, just a fun record. And it was proof that hip hop could do, fun stuff. I mean, hip hop was always a fun genre anyway, but people really misunderstood it as the language of the angry. And I mean, yeah, rap ended up becoming a little more darker later on down the line, but the early days of hip hop was always about fun. So, listening to Christmas Time in Hollis by Run DMC, I don't know how you don't get the sense that these guys don't know how to have a good time. So, yeah, that's where the the sample for Christmas Time in Hollis comes from, is Clarence Carter's Backdoor Santa with those horns. And you listen to those records back to back, they're like two totally different records. This is a dude talking about sneaking into the back door of somebody's house to fool around with somebody else's woman and give the kids money so they can go outside or whatever so they can fool around. Then you fast forward 20 years later, and Jack Frost chilling, the hawk is out, and that's what Christmas is all about. It's like, yeah, two different songs, but the sample thing, man, samples are always going to be a part of music, whether certain generations accept it or not. And it's beneficial to everybody because if you own your stuff. I mean, remember when I had Breakwater on here, the funk band from Philly, when Steve Green and Gene Robinson were talking about how their keyboard player worked out a sampling licensing deal with Daft Punk, and they're still getting paid off of that sample today. Yeah. If you own your business, man, sampling. If you're an old school artist and you own your business, or even if you're a current artist and you're on your business, sampling can get you some money, man. So Christmas Time in the House, man, still one of my favorite Christmas records. Backdoor Santa by Clarence Carter. And it's on my playlist, but I just end up laughing at it more often than not. But Christmas Time in the House, I'm always dancing and rapping along with that. But that's going to do it for day 15 of the 25 days of Christmas here on the Groove Line. 10 days to go. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the series so far. What do you think of Christmas Time in the House? What do you think of Backdoor Santa? What do you think about the sample time? Let me know what you think in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you're notified of all the new videos that drop on this channel. And once again, like and comment on the videos because I do talk back in the comments. So thank you guys for riding with me on the Groove Line. And until the next time we ride, may you find the groove, or may the groove find you.